we really need a mix of green infrastructure. So we've got to look at fertilizer reduction plans. We have an effort underway at the Commission right now looking at pesticides and fertilizers to try to quantify what that problem is and address that with best management practices and perhaps some regulation. And then landscape design with nitrogen fixing plants. That's been an emerging sort of interest of ours. Wetland restoration and culvert widening. Clearly, we've got 3 projects that we're talking to the state with right now about culvert widening. One in Barnstable, one in Yarmouth, and one in Falmouth, Orange Pond. So that's important also to get that increased natural flushing to reduce the number of parcels that would have to be sewered in any wastewater management plan. And then constructed wetlands is something that I think we should start to begin to take a look at, as well as stormwater retrofits and aquaculture farms. This is a pressing issue for us too. This is a historic and traditional activity on the Cape and industry on the Cape, and it can be part of the problem. We could use aquaculture to remove nitrogen by certain percentages in some of these estuaries and embayments. And it really hits home to me because the nature of the environmental problem is that within one generation, we have seen significant degradation in our coastal water bodies. So that most people out there that have lived on the Cape remember a time when eelgrass used to grow and used to be able to go out and harvest salts by the bushels. And that just doesn't happen anymore. And so it is. So after 300 plus years of that sort of environment, it has quickly degraded. And so we have to sort of move forward. And aquaculture as part of the solution, I think, is a great idea. But so much of what we harvest for aquaculture on the Cape now has to be seeded. It doesn't grow naturally the way that it used to. Also, the active barrier systems and these emerging technologies of living machines, closed systems, and these biodomes as part of the lagoon strategies. All of these, I think, have potential fits on the Cape. So a closer look at innovative technologies. These are the living machines. So these are the closed systems, self-contained systems that you can put on some of your larger buildings. So this might be something that the Commission looks at as we go forward in regulating development and as part of the comprehensive planning. So these are computer-controlled drain and fill cycles that simulate tides, and it treats blackwater sewage by way of diverse microbial systems of the biofilm that grows on the surface of special gravel medium contained within a series of watertight basins. And then constructed wetlands, subsurface flow. These will remove BODs, removal of 40 to 80% of the total nitrogen in wastewater, and the rate of removal is a function of retention time in some of these constructed wetlands. And what we've seen in Portland, I think, is where we've seen some of these examples, where they have very large constructed wetlands as part of more conventional collection systems. And in an area where you have a seasonal flow, seasonal population, obviously these constructed wetlands, they only remove nitrogen when they can grow. But that, this might be a seasonal economy, seasonal place like the Cape might be a great place to try those kind of constructed wetlands out. Also restoring hydrology through green acres, to green up as much as possible. The green sort of attenuates nitrogen, green roofs, green walls, tree planting, infiltration strips, and green streets are all part of what we want to investigate. And we've got an interesting program up on the Old Kings Highway right now that we're talking to the state about greening up some of that. And that's the end, so I'm right on time.
We could probably take a few questions.
Well, you talked about the population growth on the Cape.
Yes.
The population, which of course has been significant. But how, within your localized hotspots, how does the population growth compare to the percent impervious growth that has driven the stormwater overload flows over the past 20 years or so?
It correlates, but you've seen more population growth in Title V wastewater growth than you have seen impervious growth. Again, if you look at sort of commercial development, it's been relatively steady, but it's really the suburban sprawl that has taken over, especially on these smaller lots, these quarter-acre lots that are closer to the water and more on the south side.
That would tell me you've got more loading from the conversion to suburbans, which Yeah, but I mean stormwater related, conversion to sewer use.
Yeah. No, and stormwater is a big part of what we're gonna have to deal with. But I think we have a leg up on stormwater compared to some other parts of the state that have significantly more impervious surface than we do. But that also, I think, tends to lend itself towards using more alternative methods in many ways, sort of to deal with something.
Do you consider ways to reduce the atmospheric nitrogen input that we get, things like restoring freshwater wetlands, putting vegetative buffers along streams, so we have plenty more trees in our conservation land?
I think that's part of what we would consider. I mean, what we've done in some parts of the planning is we'll break individual watersheds down and look at opportunities for different alternative techniques out there. But there's been a lot of discussion about using reactive barriers, but there are some huge issues with regulating those. So more of the natural processes for using poplar trees and some of these deep-rooted plants along some of these estuaries as a natural filter is something that we definitely would like to look at. Sir?
I saw a number of the technologies you were looking at had to do with treating combined soil once it was created. I didn't notice urine diversion there. Is that anything you're looking at to take the main source of nitrogen out at the beginning and mixing it all together?
I think every technology and has a potential role in the solution based on the situation on the ground. And I think urine diversion, eco-toilets, and composting toilets are part of that. And I think they're especially part of it when it's geared towards new growth. But they could also play a significant role in some sub-watersheds based on the nature of the problem and the nature of the development in those sub-watersheds.
What Cape Cod citizen and what next concrete step out of the Cape Cod Commission for citizens look for, to know what sort of technologies you're investigating, what next step?
We are putting, it's a great question, so it's a great way to end. We are working on our regional wastewater management plan right now. We hope to have at least a final draft form by the end of the next calendar year, but we've developed some tools that we think are good planning tools that will start to roll out in late winter, early springtime. And so we will encourage people to sort of participate in the meetings that we'll have, which will be sort of town meeting style gatherings to talk about the regional plan and give us input as we move forward. So we look forward to your input. Thank you very much.